Dude, what's up with the barcode? Hitman 3 is a challenging game all about taking out targets as you please. This game is available for all major consoles like normal, but on the Switch it's only available through its exclusive cloud version. Cloud version basically means that you'll be streaming this game directly to the Switch, so in theory it isn't overloaded and you'll be able to play in real time with little to no delay, so long as you have a strong, constant internet connection. Obviously, this is kind of a gamble, and I'm sure that you're wondering how well, if at all, this works. Because of this episode of My Thoughts On will have its usual discussion on gameplay, music, and visuals, but it's also gonna shine the spotlight on how well this cloud gaming experience actually works. And after playing this game for a few days, I have some things I want to say about it. I go by Capture Reviews, and these are my thoughts on Hitman 3 Cloud version. And since this game is hot off the press, the footage shown will only be from the prologue and the first level, so there will be little to no spoilers ahead.
It's my job.
Knowing your enemy is only half the victory.
I know.
In Hitman 3 Cloud version, you're controlling Agent 47, everyone's favorite bald barcoded button man, and you have to take some people out. Like killing wise, not like dinner in a movie or... That was weak. Now, quick disclaimer before we really start. Obviously, this game requires a constant internet connection, so I decided to do some tests before actually doing this review. I averaged about 40 megabits per second download on my Switch over Wi-Fi and 74 megabits per second over Ethernet. My laptop, on the other hand, got anywhere from 180 to 250 megabits on both Wi-Fi and Ethernet. With this, the only device actively using the internet at the time was my Switch. I'd like to believe that you can use this review as a reliable source, especially if your internet is on par with mine or a little bit slower. If you've got faster internet, you may have more luck than I did, but I'm not going to swear to it. Anyway, the first thing you'll have to do with your Switch is stream a demo of this game to see if your connection is capable of handling Hitman 3. All you gotta do is you just got Right off the bat, I had a slew of issues with Hitman 3, and I sat right next to my router. I mean, literally, I was 10 feet away from it, and I still had issues loading this game. So, I ran my speed test just to be sure it was working, and still got those numbers that I mentioned earlier, and after 4 tries, I got it to work, and...
Welcome to the agent program.
Yeah, I mean, sure, okay, yeah. The graphics quality was decent, and the audio suffered some cuts here and there due to buffering, which was quite the eye and ear sore. But after the cutscene ended, I got to mess around in the prologue, and I noticed, hey, not bad. Hitman 3 responded very well to my movements, and if there was any delay when moving around, I really didn't notice it. I was still able to get into a mechanic's outfit through go to sleep, Persuasion, and I was about to make some clever moves when, time to give you my money. This is actually one of the bigger perks of Hitman 3. Nintendo gives you the chance to test drive this game for 15 minutes or so, and then makes you pay for it. I really appreciate this because had I just bought it and went through those issues after shelling out $60, I would not have been happy. So, knowing I could run the game, I bought an eShop gift card, bought the full game, loaded it up, and... Yep! More Wi-Fi issues, but the game offered the first level in offline mode, which I'm sorry? Apparently, the first few levels are playable offline, which is really nice, but what the fucking wasn't the whole point of this version to be streamed? I also found out that offline mode is only offered after you go online, so do with that what you will. So my advice to you right away is utilize your test drive. Make sure that there aren't any issues at all, and make sure this game runs smoothly. I played a bit in offline mode, and lo and behold, it's functioning Hitman. There were still some audio issues and the occasional frame rate drops, but that'll come later. The game ran fairly smooth, and it was an absolute riot. Hitman 3 is a phenomenal game that has tons of variety when it's working. It's incredibly polished, full of details, and it's just an all-around joy, much like Mr. Carsone's YouTube channel. Ha! But for real, check him out though. But I decided to pause and save because I felt like a liar and a con artist for not playing this via stream, which is when genius struck and I whipped out the oldest trick in the book. Ethernet cords! I happen to have a USB converter for an Ethernet cord, so I was able to play this in both handheld and docked mode with download speeds anywhere from 70 megabits to 80 megabits per second. And now, I still had issues getting this game to run. What the hell? It again took me a few tries, but then I finally got Hitman running, and it was more or less the same thing as it was on Wi-Fi. When it worked pretty well. I could toss some coins, work on my persuasion tactics, steal a fuse, persuade some other folks, play hide and seek with some people, and blend in like a bartender. It wasn't awful at all when it worked, but when it didn't, no, stop it. I would have moments where Hitman would run very smoothly for 5 or so minutes before this giant buffer message came up or the game started to stutter like crazy. I found that I had spent more time buffering the game than actually playing it, and at one point I actually lost connection. Now again, at this point I'm running this on an Ethernet port with very fast speeds, and I checked for any issues in my area, which there weren't any, so I'd like to think that the internet wasn't the issue. I could be wrong obviously, and you may have had a better experience with this, but I think this game is just too big for this little console, and trying to stream it is decent at best when it works. Now, Hitman 3 itself is an absolute blast though. When I was actually playing this game and not
be able to recover useful.
Oh, come on! I had a great time, and there is so much that this game has to offer. There were tons of people to persuade, and the amount of variety and detail was ridiculously cool. I started to follow one pathway, got distracted and had some minor issues, and the next thing I knew, I was where I needed to be, completely off the path that the game offered me, and that is awesome. The freedom to explore and try new ways to assassinate your targets, along with the plethora of wardrobe options, is incredible. With this, the lines that the NPCs and main targets say have some humor to them, which is a nice relief from the intense, dark feel that this game has. Speaking of which, combat and stealth moments in Hitman 3 are just as good, if not better, than any of the previous games. My palms were absolutely drenched in sweat when I approached any maintenance man or guard to try and persuade them to let me wear their clothes, and knocking out witnesses and trying to quickly hide their bodies flooded me with adrenaline, and that is not a phrase I thought I would ever say in life. That's not good. Visually, I'm sure Hitman 3 looks gorgeous on other platforms, but here it's mediocre at best. Yes, this was expected on the Switch, especially when it's being streamed to it, but man, has Agent 47 seen better days. The best way I can describe it is, you really are streaming. Now you might be saying, Dodoicr, you are streaming it. But I have to say, it looks like someone's gameplay footage on YouTube that's struggling to stay at 720p. Like the game is pretty, but it's not. Couple that with the enormous frame rate issues and the lag, and you have yourself a terrible experience. But there are some moments where the game looks beautiful. Reflections on the windows, lighting effects, and some of the bigger character models are all pretty impressive for being streamed, but all in all, I wasn't too impressed by this one. The visuals get the job done, but they struggle far too much for me. The music in Hitman 3 also gets the job done when it needs to. Obviously in this game there's not that many musical moments unless something big is happening, in which case the music swells up with the tension in certain scenes and definitely adds to the overall mood of each setting. But since I'm showcasing level 1 and also couldn't get past level 1 due to technical difficulties, I can only say that from what I saw, the music did its thing, and yeah, that's that. So, is Hitman 3 worth buying? On any other console, yes, probably. On the Switch, no, I don't recommend it. Ultimately, what I deduce from playing this is that until they become more stable through updates, patches, or anything like that, cloud games and the Switch do not mix and are not meant for one another. The Switch is meant to be taken anywhere you want, but cloud games tether you to an Ethernet port or the strongest Wi-Fi point in your house, and that's no fun. Like I said before, maybe your experience with this game will be better than mine, but with my high internet speeds, I still struggle to get this game moving and staying on track. It also takes a pretty big hit graphically, which isn't fun, and even when I had the game working for prolonged periods of time, it looked spotty and it lagged like crazy. It's hard to give this game a score because Hitman 3 I'm sure is at least a 9, but for this particular version, I gotta give it somewhere around a 5.5. When it works, it's Hitman with some minor issues and downgrades, but that is very seldom seen, and you're more likely than not going to spend more time buffering than actually playing this game. You also have to keep in mind that not everyone has a USB to Ethernet converter, so even if you have this lesser known attachment, you might still have issues like me. Again, any other console, I say go for it, but for the Switch, not so much. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my thoughts on Hitman 3 Cloud version. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
What did you do? I kicked his door in, put a gun in his face, told him if he didn't like noises, pack his shit, move out to the desert.
That was a bit brutal. Did he move?